Black women experience massive balding, scalp inflammation, and scalp and follicle disorders due to a wide range of practices that involve really tight braids, tight hairstyles, scalps clogged and packed full of oils and butters and greases, glazes, different conditioners, and all different polymers that never should go on the scalp and only on the hair shaft. By constantly blocking the pores and the follicles of the human scalp, you cause an insane overgrowth of yeast and bacteria on the human scalp that dermatologists are finding it really hard to fight now. These products can lead to an overgrowth of yeast and bacteria in the scalp that lead to a wide range of scalp and follicle disorders. Today, we are going to dive deep into 9 scalp disorders that haunt Black women today in 2025 and way before that. So if you want to know, make sure you stick around.
I am back. What it do, baby?
If you are new here, my name is Sindal and I am a cosmetologist, research scientist, herbalist, and the owner of Simple Apothecary LLC. And today, again, we gonna break down the 9 different scalp and follicle inflammation disorders, thingamajiggers that y'all experiencing, the causes, just so you can write them down and make note of it, and then you tell yourself if whether or not the patterns and routines that you've made Bible verse for yourself are worth it. Let's get into it. Number 1, this one is one of the most common ones. Actually, they'll all be pretty common. Traction alopecia. Now, the number 1 cause of traction alopecia are really tight styles that pull on the hair's follicle. So those are your braids, your ponytails, even your everyday ponytail, just the ponytail that you put in your hair every day can end up leading to traction alopecia if you're using too many tight rubber bands and things of that nature. The traction alopecia, I'm getting ahead of myself. The symptoms of traction alopecia are thinning edges, thinning hairline, a receding hairline, a thinning scalp, sore spots, bumps on the scalp, and usually little small, little bumpy, little piddle-paddle pimples. Little bumpy piddle-paddle pimples. If the practices that lead to traction alopecia in the first place are not stopped or not paused and put to a halt, this will lead to permanent scarring. Permanent. So sometimes things get to a point where you cannot fix them. Again, this is something that I try to tell you guys all the time. I'm really intense about certain things that you try because everybody's like, oh, it's working for me. And when it stopped working, I'll stop using it. Yeah, when it stopped working, you are going to stop using it because you're not going to have a choice because you're going to be bald headed. You're not going to have no hair. The solution is avoiding having really tight styles or tight styles in general, and massage the scalp regularly. You do not have to massage the scalp with oils and butters. Just like I don't need no oils and butters to massage my cheek. I'm just going like this, girl. Just go like this. You don't need to add no oils to your face, girl. Just go like this. I'm gonna be real right there. But you get the point. Massage it like that. Yo, what you had oil for? Number 2 is folliculitis. Now, the cause of folliculitis is an overgrowth of yeast and bacteria on the scalp. How does this happen? Well, the scalp has bacteria and yeast on it naturally. Eventually, they all have their life cycles where they grow, they die, and then you have to shampoo them off. But because most people, don't have proper patterns to wash their hair, shampoo their hair on a regular basis, then what ends up happening is you end up getting the overgrowth or overproduction of certain forms of yeast and bacteria that lead to the inflammation. That's why a lot of people are not going to want to admit it, but there are so many women that go to a braider that uses a bunch of oils, butters, greases, edge control that y'all love to call braiding gel. Now, it's not braiding gel, girl. It's edge control in a different bottle with a different label, but I digress. When you see, you'll go there and you'll have some tight braids or just braids in general that were put in with braiding gel, and then the next thing you know, you have white little bumps. Well, my love, you have folliculitis. If you've ever had white little bumps on your face, that is an overgrowth of yeast within the hair's follicle. It's showing itself, displaying itself as these little red bumps, these little white bumps. Girl, you better stop letting them put all that stuff on your scalp. So your symptoms are painful red pus-filled bumps. The scalp has a lot of itchiness and tenderness that you feel like it's gonna take you out, girl. Now, this leads to an infected hair follicle, which weakens the hair strand, leading to excessive shedding and a almost complete halt of your hair growth cycle. I've told you guys in previous videos what the natural hair growth cycle of the hair is. Watch the video in the description box below. I may put it right here on the screen. You got folliculitis, it's messing this cycle up. Okay, it's messed up. The solution is using a shampoo like the ones I'm gonna leave in the description box below, but just right off the top of my head, like Paul Mitchell Tea Tree has a really good one. So you just want to use a really strong tea tree shampoo. Could you use a mock generic version of it? Yes, you can. Am I gonna, if it don't work out the way that I'm telling you to, it ain't my fault, it's your fault, because you bought the generic version. I don't know how the generic version gonna work, but I know how the real version gonna work. And if you buy a product, a really good product with tea tree and it's a tea tree based shampoo, or another medicated shampoo like the ones I'll leave in the description box below, then you can regulate it. And most of all, shampooing your hair on a regular basis, it won't allow enough bacteria buildup for you to have that much inflammation in the scalp. So your number one thing is going to be hygiene and hygiene. Wash your hair like you wash your ass. Number 3 is seborrheic dermatitis. Now, this one was one of the ones that I was like, hell no, when I was learning this, because I'm a black woman. I don't know if you know this, but I'm a black woman, and I too was one of those black women that was under the impression that dandruff was dry scalp. Dandruff is not dry scalp. Dandruff is oily scalp. When you have dandruff, there's an overgrowth of bacteria on the scalp that leads to the follicle being triggered to produce more sebum, which is the natural oil that the body produces, right? So dandruff is not dry scalp. Dandruff is oily scalp, and by it increasing the amount of sebum that the body is letting out, your body tries to fight against it by cutting your skin cell turnover cycle shorter, right? And the skin cell turnover cycle is supposed to be anywhere, it's supposed to be about like 27 to 30 days, right? Every 27 to 30 days, the dead skin cells on your scalp, they die off and they make their way up, and it's your job to be shampooing your hair on a regular basis. No, it's not just, the dead skin isn't just coming off on the 30th day. Oh, let's jump. No, all month long, a little bit of old dead skin's falling off. This is why you have to comb and brush your hair on a regular basis. This is why oiling and greasing the scalp is the worst thing you can do. And again, seborrheic dermatitis is severe dandruff. This is a yeast overgrowth, and one of the main triggers is adding a bunch of oils, butters, adding a bunch of oils, butters, and greases to the scalp. You know why? Because this yeast that lives on the scalp, one of its favorite foods is oil. Any type of oil, all of the stuff that y'all put on the scalp, it loves it. And what it does, it eats this oil, and when it eats the oil, it has to get it out. And what it secretes, what it boo-boos out, is oleic acid. And most humans, especially people who pack their scalp full of butters and oils and stuff, they are most people have an allergy to oleic acid. And what ends up happening is the scalp that's already has dandruff and the problems that I told you associated with dandruff, you now have the body, this yeast that lives on your scalp, doodling out an unheard amount of doodle on your scalp that's causing crazy the inflammation. That's where the crazy burning and itching and all of that is coming from, right? And instead of you just simply doing a detox, shampooing your hair, keeping products off the scalp, most people's solution to the overgrowth of oil is adding more oil, more bacteria, more food for the bacteria, and it's crazy. And then you wonder why it never goes away. It's a constant cycle. Like, it's like you go to a dermatologist so they can kill the yeast. After whatever the dermatologist gives you kills the yeast, you then put oil in it to strengthen it back up. So it's never going away. It never really dies. As it's about to it be like, come on, Cheryl, she giving us some oil, and then it's right back to normal. Like, so symptoms of seborrheic dermatitis are white or yellow, scaly, flaky patches, greasy patches in the scalp that are unexplainable because you haven't put no grease in your scalp. Redness and excessive irritation for no reason. Like, maybe you just shampooed your hair and your scalp is irritated, you just blow dried it. The effects of seborrheic dermatitis when untreated slows down the hair growth, weakens the hair's follicle, throws off the skin cell turnover cycle, which in return slows down hair growth. Number 5, CCCA. Now, I have a full video on CCCA, so check it out. Video linked in the description box below. So I'm not going to go all deep into it and say the scientific name. I'm not doing all that because I already did it in this video. This is another one that is triggered by excessively tight braids, tight hairstyles, tight scarves, tight ponytail holders, and the excessive follicle blockage by petroleum-based products, your greases, your oils that you keep putting on your scalp, your butters, and all of these different things all lead to CCCA. Yeah, all of Black women's favorite everyday practices lead to CCCA. The symptoms are a thinning crown. The reason that they call it centrifugal, the rest of the word, is because it happens like in the center of the hair. I break it down in the video linked in the description box below, so go watch that. I'm going into it. This will also show up with a burning scalp and shiny bald patches in the scalp. Now, if the scarring goes too far, it is permanent. If a dermatologist tells you like, oh, this is permanent, they're not trying to ruin your life or make you feel bad about yourself. But most women that go see a dermatologist are not being honest about all of their patterns, so they don't know what the hell you've been doing. They have no idea. They're just giving you what they see, and from what they see, it looks like when they look under the microscope at your follicle, when they look at the test, to them it looks like there's no hope in sight. With your constant patterns, with your present patterns and routines, they cannot see a place where this is going to work out for you. That doesn't mean that they're trying to put some boo-boo in your tropical smoothie. They just being honest. It's honest. But for me, within the 7-day challenge, there are multiple women that heal. There are multiple women that deal with CCCA, and I'll say it like that, who CCCA is better within the 7-day challenge or the growth cycle blueprint, because the patterns that triggered the inflammation that led to the CCCA are reversed, so their body can heal because they've caught it in enough time. If you let CCCA go on for way too long and you just cover it with wigs for over a decade, there's a certain chance that you won't be able to get it back. So just be very, very cautious. But you'll notice that every last scalp disorder has the same common denominators. Number 6 is scalp psoriasis. Scalp psoriasis is one that a lot of people also don't really take into consideration. Now, this is an autoimmune condition. This can be triggered by product buildup, stress in your everyday life, like emotional, personal stress, and scalp trauma, like tight braids, really tight ponytails, really tight scarves, tight ponytail holders, tight clips, like stuff that's tight. Now, if CCCA goes untreated for a long period of time, it does become irreversible. There is a certain point where the follicle can no longer be rescued. There's nothing else there. You've completely cut off its blood flow and its connection to the real life so much that it's not coming back. No matter how many jelly beans you put on it, no matter how many jelly beans you melt and mix with coconut oil, it's not coming back. It's just not. And stop getting offended if I say you're gonna be a skittle diddle with no hair in the middle. You can let go of your skittle diddle practices so you don't have to be skittle diddling down the road. Okay, I had a skittle diddle time in life too, and you know what I did? I put my double cheeseburgers down and I changed the patterns and routines that led to my inflammation, that led me down the skittle diddle road. So if you don't want to be a skittle diddler, then oh no. If you don't want to be a skittle diddle, then you better stop. That diddler word, it just messed it up. Avoid tight hairstyles and focus on anti-inflammatory things that you can ingest into the body. Stop putting food on your scalp. This is an autoimmune disorder triggered by stress, product buildup, tight stress on the follicle based on your hairstyles and your patterns, and of course excessive tension. Now, what are some of the symptoms? This shows up as silvery white flakes or thick red patches. This has extreme itchiness. Your scalp gonna be real sore, just itchy and sore for no reason. You like, oh my god, I haven't had braids. Like, what is happening? What's happening? This type of chronic inflammation again disrupts the scalp's natural hair growth cycle and weakens the follicles. This is going to interrupt the natural hair growth cycle, which directly again slows down hair growth. It is not that black women's hair won't grow. All of your patterns and routines slow down the natural hair growth cycle. If you stop the patterns and routines that you're following and taking on as Bible verse, all of your problems will be fixed. It's a fact. Look at the comments on the screen. It's so simple. Keep it simple, baby. Like, what are we doing for real? Number 7 is wingworm. Now, we all heard about wingworm when we was little, but this is the scientific name for the wingworm. This is a fungal infection of the scalp caused by unclean tools. A lot of women don't understand that you're supposed to clean your combs and brushes on a regular basis. Make sure you go ahead and check the video linked in the description box below, where my sister Cree ended up recording a full video showing you guys how to clean your combs and brushes at home. And she literally did a at-home version of this, so it's not like, oh, the way that you do it in a professional hair salon. She didn't do it with barbicide. She did it with something else. So make sure you go over to her channel, watch the video, and learn how to clean your combs and brushes on a regular basis. A lot of y'all think y'all have dandruff, and girl, you don't got dandruff, you got wingworm. Like, dead ass. A lot of y'all walking around with wingworm and scratching it off like, ooh, this excessive dandruff. This is so relaxing. You scratching off worms of the ringworm. Y'all are nasty. And y'all putting oil on the wingworm. Ooh, my scalp's so dry, so I just slapped all of this oil on it, and then all of the little dry scalp. That's not dry scalp, bro. You got wingworm. It's a little nasty, but we not supposed to have wingworm no more. Wingworm's supposed to be over when we was little, but y'all got wingworm today. Talking about you putting coconut oil on it. Stop putting coconut oil on your wingworm. Put some water on that shit. Again, this is going to come from not properly cleaning your tools, having really tight styles, or having bacteria and moisture trapped by heavy styling products. So when you add a lot of oils and butters to the scalp, or even after you get hairstyles, especially most women after they get braids, then they go ahead and add a whole bunch of oils and butters to the scalp on a daily basis. Or women who wear wigs all the time, they will like take the wig off and like put a bunch of grease and oil on their scalp. A lot of women will walk around with their hair wet, with conditioner on it, with a stocking cap on it, with a wig, not a stocking cap, but a plastic processing cap on it, and then a wig on top of that. And this is something that's been going on for years. Even though women don't want to take accountability for it, you're gonna take accountability in 2025. I saw a video, not the whole thing, but a video where, and there are multiple videos, so I'm not talking about one specific person, where the women who led y'all down the road of having wigs on all the time and all of that are like, I'm not wearing wigs anymore, I'm not gonna do it anymore, they were just using us, I'm not gonna wear the wigs anymore. Those symptoms are bald patches, brown scaly patches or brown scaly areas all over the scalp, black dots, broken hair, and intense itching. Some people say it's some of the most intense itching they have ever experienced in their life. This has really intense effects on the hair's follicle and on hair growth in general, because these spores end up infecting all of the hair's follicles. Remember, the average human being has anywhere between 100,000 to 400,000 follicles on their scalp. So this is something really serious. If you have the spores in one follicle, it can spread all over the scalp. Now for wingworm, you are going to have to add like some medicated shampoo, some antifungal shampoo. Sometimes when you go to the dermatologist, they give you a medication that you have to like take internally, something that you have to like ingest to kill the over infestation of the spores on the human scalp when you have wingworm. You do not just get wingworm as a child. A lot of y'all are walking around with wingworm and don't even know it. Now this next one, I'm not about to try to say, it's right here. I'm not doing that tonight. Now this is classified as scalp keloids and bumps around the nape of the hairline, bumps around the nape of the human scalp. This irritation again is caused from really tight hairstyles, extremely tight scarves and headbands and ponytail holders, as well as headbands, pillowcases, and different things that you lay the head on a regular basis that are not cleansed properly. Not to mention the follicle being clogged by heavy products or by anything, because contrary to popular opinion, absolutely nothing belongs on the human scalp but shampoo. So when you put anything but shampoo on the scalp for a long extended period of time, especially anything petroleum based like a oil or any type of polymer, check the link in the description box below for my full lecture on polymers. There is no excuse. You do not have an excuse. Nobody should be putting polymers on the scalp. It leads to all of these scalp inflammations, all of these scalp disorders. So the symptoms of these are going to be keloids that develop somewhere on the scalp or all over the scalp, and the bumps, the pus-filled bumps, or just any type of raised bumpy area around the nape of the neck, or just around the nape. And of course, tenderness, any type of extreme tenderness, again, for no reason. This is a really big sign. The most severe cases of this lead to permanent scarring of the scalp. The hair will not grow back. The follicle is permanently damaged in most cases. When you allow your follicles to go that bad, everything is not reversible. There are some things that are reversible, absolutely. Everything is not, and this is one of those things. So how do you prevent this? Avoid friction and high tension. So on the days that you can, avoid having tight scarves on and things of that nature. within my Amazon store. I'll leave the link in the description box below. I'll leave the link to the thing that I use to wrap my hair up at night, but you do not have to have tight scarves and things of that nature on the scalp, and you need to wash your scarves a couple of times a week. You should not be using the same scarf for a month. You should not be using the same scarf for a full week. Let's just be honest. You need to shampoo. You need to shampoo your hair on a regular basis, and you need to clean your pillowcases and your scarves. You're shampooing your hair to avoid an overgrowth of yeast and bacteria. Then why would you then turn around and then put on the same scarf that you just had on when you had the overgrowth in the scalp before you shampooed your hair? You might as well not shampoo. So those are the things that you have to think about. Really be really intentional with the things that the places that you lay your head. I'm talking about your hats, your hoodies, all of those things. Anything that touches your hair should be cleaned on a regular basis. Chronic irritation causes inflammation and thinning, which eventually leads to balding. Altogether, this just weakens the follicle intensely. So, here are some final tips to avoid these scalp disorders, all right? Write them down and try them out. Don't get offended, try them out, because if your scalp is itching and sore and tender and you got any of the symptoms we talked about today, whatever you've been doing has not been working, so let's try something else. And then if what I'm telling you to do don't work, then go back to the same stuff that you've been doing that's making your scalp sore. But I know for a fact it's gonna work. You've been seeing the people pop up on the screen. Let's do it real quick. Number 1, avoid using heavy oils and butters. Regardless of what people have told y'all over this last decade plus, oils are not required to style your hair on a regular basis. If you were to go into a hair salon like mine, because there's a bunch of dusty cosmetologists that I saw a cosmetologist, she put smoothies in people's hair. So it's dusty ones out there. But if you go to a cosmetologist that's like me, that follows the science, we're not using oil in your hair at all. Like, if you're getting the silk press, the last thing, or a flat iron, whatever you want to call it, if you are getting your hair done with me, I'm not putting any oil in your hair, period. You don't need it. You have a sebaceous gland full of sebum, and the more oil I put in your hair, the harder it's going to be for the sebum that's coming out of your scalp, to touch your hair. So I'm not putting oil on your hair. Stop doing that. Oh, I lied, that wasn't the last one. Now this is the last one. Number 9, scalp eczema. Ooh. This is caused by allergies, excessive dryness, but this excessive dryness comes from the blocking of the hair follicle by using different glazes, oils, butters, and gels on the follicle. Let's keep going. Symptoms are dry and scaly patches, extreme soreness, dryness, and inflammation. This chronic inflammation leads to extreme inflammation, soreness, thinning, which also leads in the end to balding. So back to the tips of number 1, don't be putting oil and stuff on your scalp. We already talked about it. Number 2, deep cleanse the scalp on a regular basis. But when I say a regular basis, I mean have a set and steady pattern of the days that you detox, when you detox, when you detox / clarify, when you moisturize, and all of the different things. If you want to know more about that, I don't teach step-by-step directional things here on my channel. Those things are on my website and within my courses. So if you want to know that type of detailed information, that is left within the 7-day challenge and the growth cycle blueprint. Now, in a video coming really soon, I'm going to break down the really excessive difference of both, but for now, check the link in the description box to understand more. So again, shampooing the hair on a regular basis is number 1, because when you're shampooing, you're not allowing all of the bacteria and yeast to become overgrown, so you're not going to have infections like you. scalp massages and exfoliation. Remember what I told you about the skin cell turnover cycle. It's really important that you massage the scalp and remove the dead skin on a regular basis. Again, having a pattern like that, that is what my 7-day challenge is about. My 7-day challenge teaches you what you should be doing to the scalp on each day of the week. It breaks down all of these steps in grave detail. Next up, if you have to do a protective, I never really do protective styles, but if you have, except for like hair extensions, like except for weaves, but if you just have to do a protective style, make sure that it's not too tight. If it is painful when you put it in, it's gonna be painful till you take it out. It's gonna be some shit when you take it down. I'm just letting you know. So if it don't hurt going in, you better take that shit out. I'm trying to tell you. And lastly, use antibacterial and antifungal treatments as much as you can. If you are a person who just can't let go of oils and butters or greases, or if you have a job that causes you to like have contact with elements that would put bacteria and yeast in the scalp, if your scalp is always sweating and you need to get through, and you want to make sure you're able to get through a week without shampooing your hair, then that's when you would use a shampoo like that. So now that you know exactly what these hair follicle disorders are, make sure you head over to my blog so you can learn more about the different teas that you and the different herbs that you can ingest to make sure that these things do not bother you. All right, I love you guys so much. And then after you read that on my blog, make sure you come back over here so you can watch part 2.